In this video I want to do a size and weight comparison for the Lumia 925 here against some of its sister Windows Phone devices. It makes an important point because actually it's the size and the weight that Nokia has really worked on in moving from the 920 to the 925. I've deliberately put it between the 720 and the 920 here because really it's a marriage of the two devices. It has kind of the sleek lines of the 720, but it has the specification, the processor and the memory and the PureView camera module of the 920. So let's do that as a comparison first of all. Bring these two devices up. You can see that the 925 is quite a bit thinner than the 920. It's 10.7mm here for the 920 versus 8.5mm. The difference with the 720, well, it's quite a bit smaller. It's only a 0.5mm in it, so it's actually quite difficult to see unless you measure it directly. Similarly, something like the 820, it will look smaller than the 925 because it's got a smaller physical screen, but it's actually thicker. The 820 comes in at 9.9mm, so almost 1.5mm bigger. Similarly, the 620, this really makes a good point on why screens determine size. Here, quite a small screen, 4.5 inches of course on the 925, but the 620 is actually quite a thick device, not unusual for some of the more budget devices. There's one more device I want to bring in terms of size comparison, and that's the HTC 8X. Now this actually feels very similar in the hand to the 925, but it's 10.12mm, so don't always look at the measurements. You have to think about what it feels like in the hand. And I'd actually say these two are very similar. Quite a different design approach. If we just look at the 8X here, you can see it's kind of this soft touch material that HTC do, a plastic, and it's quite a different feel to the metallic rim of the 925 here. But as I say, the two devices feel quite similar in terms of size and scope. But let's move on to weight, because that's another important factor, something I can't illustrate very easily on video, but I have got a bit of help coming my way. And with the magic of a quick dissolve, I brought in my kitchen scales here to help me illustrate the differences in weight. Let's start with the Lumia 920 here. You can see that's coming in at 186 grams. That's actually 1 gram over its official weight. We compare that against the Lumia 925. Essentially, you'd expect them to be quite similar, but it's not a big difference here. 138 grams. That's actually 1 gram under its official weight, but these scales aren't necessarily accurate, and phones can obviously vary slightly from device to device. So here we can see that the 925 is a much lighter device. Let's just compare it against some of the others. Bring in the Lumia 720 here. We can see that's coming in at 128 grams. That's spot on its official weight. The 920 and the 925 are going to be heavier because of some of the extra components in them, but the 720 performs very well. Let's just take a look at some other devices. We've got the 820 here. This was another heavy device, and there we go. We can see that here, 158 grams. That's 2 grams under its official weight. 620, that's actually one of the lighter devices. You can see that's coming in at 124 grams. That's actually 3 grams under its official weight, but that's partly due to the differences in these covers that you can exchange on the devices. Some of the plain ones are slightly heavier. Just bring in the 8X for sake of completeness. You can see that's 131 grams, just 1 gram over its official weight. So there we go. Let's just bring the 925 back in there. I'll say if there's one big change to talk about between the 925 and the 920, it's the weight. Everyone's going to mention it. So here's kind of the money shot for you. 138 grams as determined by my kitchen scales.